Hey y'all, welcome to Gabe's Nutritional Ramblings. This will be the second podcast. I think I fixed my audio to be a little bit better. I was trying to listen to my first podcast, but I kind of hate the sound of my voice. I don't know, it's just kind of weird, right? It's like when an actor doesn't want to watch their own movie because it's kind of weird to see yourself. But I suppose to kind of continue on from the first podcast, we could kind of talk about the influence of blood sugar and how blood sugar spiking consistently can get you to the point of being diabetic. I mean, once you're fat and you get obese from eating mixed macronutrients like fats and carbs, what can happen is over time, right, when you keep messing with the Randle cycle, it's like these two switches, these two levers. Either you're completely in fat burning mode or you're completely in glucose mode, right? People like to say you burn fat for energy or you burn carbs for energy, but you don't really burn anything. It's not like a steam engine on a train. You just keep throwing coal or whatever and it keeps on going. It's really your body utilizes it and utilize your energy so your body can function well. But one thing I see is the problem of people eating so much excessive intake of carbohydrates that people don't know that it's bad for them. And let's take it for example, right? Let's say a person in a standard American diet, right? They wake up and before they go to work, they get a coffee, spike their blood sugar, really taxing their adrenals, increasing their cortisol, and then they have a muffin or pancakes or, some sugary little delight, giving them a little boost of energy for an hour or two. And then, boom, by lunchtime, they get a sugar crash. Now that I think about it, historically, people never really had lunch. They would have breakfast, then usually dinner, and that was kind of it, right? Maybe 2 times a day, maybe a snack in between, perhaps, but now that I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking lunch was created for workers to recover from their sugar crash. So when you eat a lot of sugar, right, high carbs, right, let's say very minimal fat, very minimal protein, because those can blunt in the response of your high blood sugar spike. So you want to be about 100 or so in the 90s, depending on your health journey, who you are, if you're fat burning, carb burning, whatever it is. So you spike up your blood sugar, you feel great, right? You feel amazing. You get all the energy, you're doing rather well, and then you crash. The crashing is weird, because it's a new phenomenon, I want to say, right? Because I think everyday people are spiking their blood sugar and they're crashing. But it's not normal. Because when you look at people that are on a high carb diet, they always crash. They get hangry, they get cranky, but it's because their body is in a fight or flight response, right? It's in the sympathetic nervous mode. Because what happens, right, is the body is so stressed that it's doing everything it can, right, to raise your blood sugar after it crashed. And it's kind of interesting how that works. That's like I tell people, right? If you want to have really good sleep, right, don't eat before bed. Like no food for 4 hours before bed. Just in case, right, you spike up your blood sugar, you crash before then, and then you sleep peacefully and you don't wake up. Because I know some people will eat before bed, and then they spike their blood sugar, then they wake up in the middle of the night, and they can't go to sleep because the body's in that really, it's a stage of cortisol, it's a stage of stress. The body is doing everything it can to put itself back into homeostasis, right, to balance blood sugar. But let's keep talking about this happening for years, right? Because you don't just get, you know, diabetes in a day, right? Unless you've had an unfortunate autoimmune disorder called type 1 diabetes, in which you have a problem with your beta cells producing insulin, then that's its own problem. I'm not talking about that, although I do hear that people can benefit from a low carb diet if done rather well, that they could reduce the amount of insulin they need to inject, which is awesome, right? You save a lot more money. Because I know it's been kind of pricey, kind of expensive. I think there was a controversy a few years ago. What was the guy's name? Guy was a fucking asshole. Total douchebag. He knew what he was doing. I think his name was Martin Shkreli or something. The farmer bro. Real big thing. He just decided to raise all the insulin like an asshole. And would cost people a ton of money. And it was quite unfortunate. But I think now people can now buy insulin cheaper. I think all sorts of laws were passed. So that's a good win, right? But my goal, right, is to help people with type 2 diabetes get to the point to support their body back to homeostasis so they don't need to buy pharmaceutical drugs like insulin, right? I mean, it's kind of comical, right? The way the mechanism works. If you eat a lot of carbs over time, right, your body gets tired, right? You need a break because when you overdo anything over a long period of time, right, you get kind of tired, right? I kind of think of it like working out, right? If you keep working out the same muscle group for a whole week straight for hours, you're just gonna tank, right? You get so weak like spaghetti arms or something. But I think maybe to an extent the same thing can happen with, your pancreas and the production from your beta cells to make insulin. Because you need insulin to store that energy, right? And I think what happens over time is when you over abuse insulin, you get to the point where your body says, all right, man, I'm tired. I can't produce that much. I can only do so much. I can give you this much more. But it can't function normally the way it used to function. So this is a problem people need to realize. You can't just keep injecting more insulin to help you. It's kind of like insanity, right? So let's say root cause, right? On a physiological perspective, how does one avoid this problem, right? I think this problem can be avoided by going low carb, going keto, reducing your carb intake, reducing your sugar intake. For type 2 diabetic, of course, you need to realize that this dogma has been wrong. You can't just keep eating carbs, spiking your blood sugar, and, turning your pancreas into an abusive relationship because then you get to the point where you're more diabetic, your A1C goes up. I like to talk about people thinking it like caramel, right? Sticky stuff, your blood gets kind of sticky, clumps together, there could be problems down the line. And higher A1C tends to be correlated with a lot more health problems. Cardiovascularly, uh, neuropathy, retinopathy, you know? Like it's crazy. It gets to the point where you've probably seen someone or you know someone who's so diabetic that they gotta cut off their foot or a toe or a limb. It's crazy. Like it kills the neurons in certain parts of your body. That's why some people who are diabetic, right? They go blind. It's just crazy to think about that. And we know what we can do, right? But you know, there's drug companies that want to win a ton of money, turn people into sick cash cows, and over time, people just, they don't know better, right? You go to an expert, you hope the expert gives you all the knowledge and advice that they could give you, but then you gotta realize some of these experts are, you know, nothing but glorified pharmaceutical reps. They need to wear a jacket like NASCAR drivers. Someone talked about this one time, and just have all these labels on their back of these drug companies they so gladly advertise because every time they give you drugs, they make money. They make a ton of money. They make a killing. And while killing you. It's kind of sad. Because all they want are sick cash cows to milk and make a ton of money. It's really a sick care industry. But going back to root cause, right? Once you're able to control your sugar cravings, control your physiology, right? And stop spiking your insulin so high, then your pancreas can rest. Your beta cells can go back to normally making your insulin that you need, right? So a great deal of people that are diabetic, right? Because I'm not a medical doctor or a medical professional or a PhD researcher, but I can't say it could cure you, treat you, diagnose you, all those stuff, right? Because I'm not a medical doctor. But what I can tell you is there have been people who have taken such an approach of going into a keto, low-carb diet, and over time they have vastly improved. Some will use words I can't use, but they're in a way better quality of life where they don't need to take drugs. And the problem today I've seen is people want to abuse the Wegovy, the semaglutide, all that kind of crap. And they're talking about this study about how it could benefit these people to take these drugs and it'll reduce their risk of heart attacks and all these other things and Alzheimer's. And I'm thinking there's side effects to these drugs. I like to look at things from a perspective of how can it harm you? Something that can help you can also hurt you. Things that can hurt you can also help you. So let's say you take some of those drugs, right? What might happen to you? Well, unfortunately, someone got stomach paralysis, so that's kind of scary. No one wants their stomach to be paralyzed. Then I saw something about it increases the risk of depression and suicide. So if you're going to get healthy, right, why are you going to take a drug that's going to make you kill yourself or go crazy or go off the deep end, right? That makes no sense. I don't think any drug that increases the risk of suicide should be allowed. Because, you know, you die, you go crazy. Mentally, when you're well, you wouldn't think about suicide or doing anything bad. But there's a price to everything. And I tell people, you can't cheat nature. You have to listen to your body, listen to the physiology, learn how it works. Unfortunately, your body is like a car, but it doesn't come with no manual. I wish we had a manual. The closest thing to a manual we could get is talking to a nutritionist that knows what they're talking about if they're not paid by Big Pharma or not captivated by Rockefeller medicine. It's really a shame, but there's even a lot of good doctors out there that are coming out and understand the importance of starting with a approach on diet, lifestyle changes, taking supplements, taking vitamins, taking minerals to improve your life. You want to improve your life with minimal downsides. So I'm grateful for them being functional doctors, precision medicine, individualized medicine, all sorts of terms out there. These holistic practitioners. So I think there's hope, but I guess the moral is you can't cheat yourself out of a bad situation. Kind of like exercise, right? You can't out-exercise a bad diet. You have to change it. You have to improve. So if you're a diabetic, you can change right now. You can get healthy. And I can and will guide you. So I will say, right, not medical advice, but as a nutritionist and as a friend who cares about teaching and educating people, that if you're type 2 diabetic, you can get better. You can support your body's health to improve by, giving your pancreas beta cells a break so they can heal. If you don't do this, then, there's a progression. And I'm going to talk about that progression right now. The progression is you gain weight, you get fatter, you then become type 2 diabetic, you test your A1C. Your A1C goes, I think they changed it, right, to like 5.7, 6.3, I think. Pre-diabetic, 6.3 to 7 or 6.9, depending on the ranges because they're all kind of different. Then you're considered to be diabetic. Once you're diabetic for a couple of years, your blood will get sticky, it will glycate, it will have advanced glycated end products, and everything in your body will just start to glycate, it will oxidize, it'll get damaged everywhere. It'll mess with, those beautiful plumbing tunnels for your pipes. Then one day you get a heart attack. You get a clog, right? You get a clog because the way I've heard people talk about this is you have LDL, right? Which people will proclaim it to be a bad thing, right? But LDL is a good thing. We've always had it. It's how it can turn bad, how it may turn bad, right? So when you're glycated and you have a high A1C over time, your LDL receptor, they're fine, but it's the actual LDL that's produced that gets oxidized, that gets damaged. So you're supposed to have this bigger particle size LDL, and this is healthy, and this is normal, and there's no problems with it. However, because you're becoming oxidized and you're damaging the LDL, it gets smaller and less fluffy, and as it circulates through your body, it'll pierce through the intima of your blood vessel. So the intima is the inner part of your blood vessel. Then it pierces through it, right? And it's damaged, so the body goes to repair it. So then here comes in the repair mechanism. You get the macrophage, it goes in, it tries to grab onto it, then it becomes a foam cell, and that's stuck. Because I don't think the body ever realized or understood how to repair this. Maybe it could, maybe it can, maybe there's mechanisms, but then this, you know, macrophage comes and it grabs onto it, right? And then it becomes a foam cell. And then this happens a lot more times, many, many times, to the point where there's all these foam cells accumulating, and then boom, you get a blockage. Now, the reason fat isn't bad is because it makes LDL. The reason high glycated blood sugar is bad is because it damages your LDL, and then may lead to such a problem where you get a blockage. What's interesting is when surgeons go in there, right? They don't use enzymes that break down fat. They use enzymes that break down proteins to help your clog. So it's interesting, right? Because if fat was the issue, right, then wouldn't you use enzymes to break down fat to help you? Well, I think we're slowly but surely going to understand the mechanism of how it's these protein enzymes that break down the foam cell. And once we're done with the foam cell, and we realize we work back in reverse, that the problem all the time was people having high blood sugar, the high A1C, and when you go back down below 5.7 A1C and you're healthier, then I think, in my opinion, it may not be a problem because you're not glycating it, you're not damaging it. It's interesting because if this is the case, right, then where are all the keto carnivore people that are dying left and right from heart disease? I don't see that. It's not happening. I mean, maybe we'll see it one day. You know, that'd be cool. I suppose. Maybe it never will happen, and it won't happen because it's a modern new disease of humans eating authentic carbohydrates. It's a modern disease. Heart attack wasn't a problem until the 50s, and you look at Eisenhower. That's when it became a big deal about the heart problems and the blaming of fat. But I mean, there's other ways to oxidize your body, right? I think one of the ways he oxidized his body was he was a heavy smoker. This is Dwight D. Eisenhower before he became president. You know, he was a logistics man, World War II, right? And they picked him to become in charge of the American army going to Europe, the military, because he understood logistics, how to ship, how to handle things, sending weapons, supplies, troops, and commanding them. We get D-Day, and then eventually we beat Germany. So they picked him because he was a logistics guy, right? But it's a really stressful job. The man smoked, you know, packs of cigarettes a day, right? So over time, all that harm builds up and it glycates and oxidizes your body. And, being a president is an even more taxing job on your health, right? I mean, think about all the things you got to worry about. You got to worry about everything. It's kind of crazy. And, some argue he had the military industrial complex breathing down his neck and whatnot about aliens and all sorts of things. Who knows? But I think a man like that was in such high stress that he got to the point where, he had oxidation and it led to a profound impact on his heart. As far as that goes, don't smoke. Smoking's bad. It's been proven in any way, in every way possible. If you smoke, you will damage your body. In this case, it was his heart. He got a blockage in there. He oxidizes LDL. For some people, it's their lungs. For some people, it may become different parts of the body. It's interesting how smoking something that's burning can negatively impact you. But again, who knows what were in the cigarettes back then? I mean, there was all sorts of crazy things back in cigarettes, like asbestos. I think like there was like zirconium and all sorts of things in there. I think there was a study where they checked some cigarettes and there was like heavy metals in there, right? So now you're smoking, you're breathing all these things that are toxic. And there can even be more things in there that are toxic, like aldehydes. I recall there being aldehydes. You know, that's basically like embalming fluid. So don't smoke and don't do jewels, don't do vapes. I understand people are trying to break a habit, but we really do not know what are in these little pods that people smoke, these little juicy fruit things. It's perplexing, right? If you're smoking something, you have no idea what's in there. And a lot of these things are made from China, and you don't know the quality control that goes through it. So, I mean, if you want to fix your smoking habit, suck in a toothpick, I don't know. Find a way to break your oral fixation, because that thing could kill you. It could harm your health. It could lead to wrist problems, and the last thing you want to do, right, is worry your family. So I would suggest finding someone who can help you stop smoking if that's the case, right? Going into this problem, right, that can be fixed. Something else that could happen would be, it impacts the rest of your body, right? Like your fingers. Some diabetics, they lose feeling in their fingers. They get neuropathy, retinopathy, they lose eyesight, they lose limbs. I mean, I think that's just, oh my god, like, you lose limbs. And I've known people who lost limbs, and they don't care. They're so far gone that they've lost hope already. And it could be reversed, right? Some argue. Maybe it may not. I can't say that. I'm not a doctor. But once you lose a limb, you know, we're not reptiles or, them lizards that grow back limbs. At that point, you know, you lose a limb and that's it. You can't regrow it back. So I understand why they might feel bad. Why they think there's no hope and it's all lost. Because, I can't imagine losing a finger, let alone an arm or a leg or a foot or something. But if you're in that stage of diabetes, before you get, you know, neuropathies and retinopathies, I also worry that it could also may affect your brain. Dementia occurs, then you get full-blown Alzheimer's because the receptors in your brain aren't able to transport glucose to your brain. And then you realize, oh wow, keto works good. Because if you're in a strict keto diet, at that point, right, you can bypass your blood-brain barrier with ketones and energize your brain through ketones. And I think there could be a market in which there's nursing homes for people who can go on a keto diet to regain their mental fortitude. You know, hire chefs, cook high fat, low carb, or no carb in some of these people's cases because, it's so bad. And I don't even know if you can fix that. Repairing of the receptors. Maybe you can, I don't know. I'm sure there's research out there. Probably hasn't been published because, why would you tell people about that if you stand to make a lot of money from pharmaceuticals? So I do have hope for people in that stage before it becomes, a type 3 lose a limb problem, a type 3 Alzheimer's problem, a type 3 heart-induced problem. And also, I mean, some cancers, they feed on sugar. They get to a different point where it'll start to ferment all this sugar and grow your cancer. That's problematic, right? Because once you get cancer, right, some people are just done for if they don't change their lifestyle. Yeah, some people go, they get chemo and, you know, they kill off most of their body just so they could beat cancer. But then it's tough because then they're back at it again. Another year or two, year or three. Then you see those people that, they beat cancer 5 times, and every time they beat it, it gets stronger and it comes back even harder. So, like I say, change your lifestyle, change your diet, change unhealthy habits. Don't indulge in your vices because you can't get healthier. There's always a chance for yourself to redeem your body. And if you're right there in type 2 diabetes and you're barely having your A1C up there, you can help lower your A1C by changing your diet. I mean, doctors always tell you, eat a healthy diet, but they don't know what a healthy diet is. They don't know what to tell you. Then you tell them you're gonna go keto, and then they get all mad, and then they want to give you a statin, which, I'm not a doctor, but based on some researchers, they say it doesn't work. Because statins, it doesn't block the production of oxidized LDL. It blocks the production of regular LDL that you need for your body to transport things. People don't understand that cholesterol is a transport vehicle. You know, it's like a shipping crate. It goes to where it needs to go to give your body what it needs: energy, vitamins, minerals. So if you cut off the supply routes, then your body's gonna start having problems, especially with cholesterol. Because cholesterol is used to make pregnenolone, and from pregnenolone, you make testosterone, you make your estrogen, you make your sex hormones, and other hormones that you need for your body to function. And then I think it also blocks another pathway in your body called like the melatonin pathway. And it's actually, I think there's a study that showed that increased usage of statins can lead to Alzheimer's and dementia. Basically, on a certain pathway that, it blocks energy to your brain. I don't know the whole entire thing. I know there's people that study the mechanisms and they're really concerned, and they call it like statin toxicity or statin-induced Alzheimer's. Another thing is it weakens your muscles. You get achy because it also blocks your production or conversion of CoQ10, which you need for your muscles. So already there's a lot of downsides to taking this thing that doesn't help the function at all. The whole purpose is negated. It stands for to take care of oxidized LDL. Then hey, it fulfilled the function. But if it's leaving those alone and just affecting your regular LDL, the thing that doesn't cause harm, no damage, then it's really hurting you, yourself, and your optimal standard of living. But there are doctors out there saying don't take statins. They know it doesn't work. They've read all sorts of different studies. They've been able to get people off of statins. And they understand physiology and root cause of how things work in the body. And I think that's a lost art. If you're gonna study the body, you gotta look it through it like an engineer, like a mechanic, using a systems engineering approach to figure out how everything works in the body. There's specialists out there, the people that dedicate their whole life to studying a single organ system of the body, or a single part of the body, right? And they're experts, but they can't do anything with it because they fail to realize and understand that the body works in systems. It's one giant system with different parts here and there, like a machine, different cogwheels, different parts that move. If you're focused on one part and you ignore everything else, then of course you can't do much because you're not affecting what this affects, or helping support this part, which helps this other part and helps you. If that's the way people think, right, then you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to be stuck in a chasm, an abyss, because you're so narrowly focused on one thing, you can't help the rest of you. So that's why I like the term holistic, because it means to look at everything. It's a good thing to look at everything, because if you look at other parts, it can also tell you where other parts may be having problems. So when you look at that, look at it through that lens. Everything has an effect on something else. When I look at people that want to get better, it makes me happy. It makes me hopeful. And it's very encouraging because they can get better. And they will get better. Because they got to the point where they've been inspired to change and that they can change and it's possible. And things will get better. And they can get better, right? But all you need is to find a good nutritionist. A good person to help you. I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner. I like to help people. Book an appointment with me. May change your life. May very well change your life. It will leave an impact on you. So if you need someone to take a gander at your problems and hopefully come up with a vital support solution, then maybe I could be the guy for you. But going back to the topic, right, of diabetes, it's just like obesity around the world. It's increasing. In the United States, it goes up every year. Look at Saudi Arabia, they're getting diabetic too. Parts of China's getting diabetic. Weirdly enough, every place that's become very industrialized, they're becoming very diabetic. And diabetes was rarely seen before the 1900s. So we can ask ourselves, what are we doing wrong? I, of course, blame the junk food. That's horrible crap, high carb stuff. I blame sugary drinks. Because think about it. Instead of taking the effort to eat a food, right, that has carbs, you can now gulp down 100 grams of carbs like nothing. I was looking at a soda the other day and it was like, it was a Mountain Dew. And they put these crazy artificial flavors in there. And there was like a, what was it, like a hot chip Mountain Dew, like a spicy Mountain Dew. Fucking weird as shit. And they had like 76 grams of sugar or something. And I was terrified, right? Then there was that Starbucks drink a few years back, the unicorn one. They had over 100 grams of sugar. Crazy. I was looking at a milkshake from some company, and they had like over 150 grams of carbs for like a small little milkshake. I mean, sugar's addicting. It's more addicting than cocaine. They did a study on rats, and the rats, man, they love sugar. Cocaine, it doesn't give you what you need, right? Because, you know, sugar is a reward because you're getting fat for winter. But, you know, we're past that. And advice I would give people, right, is stop drinking Coke, stop drinking sodas, stop drinking sugary drinks. Don't drink OJ. Don't drink apple juice. Don't drink all these things. You don't need to. Humans live on water. We need water. You need your salt. You need your potassium. You need your magnesium. You need to make your electrolytes to help your cells and your mitochondria produce more energy. So don't drink sugar stuff, right? I mean, hell, even Gatorade, right? Gatorade has a ton of sugar. They look at like, like classic Gatorade, right? Because they have all sorts of Gatorade offshoots now. And I look at these Gatorades and they're like, okay, it's a ton of sugar. And you get like low amounts of salt and low amounts of potassium. And I'm like, I don't think Gatorade ever helped you. I think it was just like a sugar boost with quote unquote electrolytes that made you, feel better. But there's drinks now like Liquid IV, another one called Element, but I don't call it Element. I'm gonna call it LMNT because that's what it is, right? It's LMNT, right? I can call it Element. That's fucking stupid. but they make good products to help you with your electrolytes. Another guy, what's his name? I think his name is Mike Muzzle. Cool guy. He's got YouTube. I like to watch him every now and then. He's got a good product. It's like an electrolyte stick. And it puts creatine in there. And I thought that was rather unique. Also helps you with retaining your electrolytes. Helps you with your muscles, getting energy to your muscles with creatine. And probably that's the right amount of creatine, right? I think it's like 2 grams or something. Because I think people take like 5 grams for a scoop of creatine when they want to work out. But 5 grams is overkill and you don't need that much. So if you do take creatine, right? Try and take 2 gram scoop or something, right? Like try and measure it because you'll save more money and you're not wasting that excess of creatine your body doesn't really need at that point. So that's a good helpful tip if you're a workout person. It's the summer, so you do need electrolytes. Hot as fuck, man. Watching the news, they're measuring the air. They're supposedly measuring the air, but I think recently there was a controversy where they were measuring the ground. You know, the ground gets hot, right? We're talking about cement, talking about asphalt. So you look at the weather and it's like, oh, it's 120, 130. And then the controversy occurred because there was some weatherman somewhere who had the audacity to speak out against crazy things, and he said, yeah, they were just reporting the weather wrong. It was the measuring of the ground, when in fact, the usual measurement of temperature is the air. That's how it's always been done. So that's why things look crazier than what they usually are. Again, we're in the dog days of summer. I think we're going to leave the dog days of summer soon, and, you know, time for the next season. Time for fall. Time to see the pretty leaves fall down. I can't wait for that. You know, I like fall. Real festive. You got what, Halloween? You got Thanksgiving. Then you go into winter with Christmas. That's nice. I like it. Very fun. But going back to the topic, if you're diabetic, right? I would say start slowly. Go low carb. You know, try to figure out what you eat in a day. Let's say you eat 400 grams of carbs a day. Try eating more meat and more fat. You know, and then over time, right, you can lower your carbs and lower and lower and lower because you kind of want to wean at first, right? Because I find diabetes unique, right? Because already you're having problems with your insulin and your beta cells and your utilization of energy. So do that. Go gradually. I know some people go crazy and they do the switch, right? You know, just pure carnivore first, and they feel horrible, right? But let your body wean off a little bit, right? Because if you're the person who eats junk food, right, and you eat a lot of fast food, and you eat all these crap, right, and you're getting fat, and you are fat, right? I'd suggest, perhaps, right, depending on who you are, right? If you're like 300, 400 pounds, right? Start slowly, right? Because you have a lot of toxins that are stored in your fat, and you want to gradually take care of that, right? Because if you just start cutting weight like crazy, I think your body gets a little sick, and when you get sick, right, you feel bad, right? And people say, "Oh, I don't like keto. I don't like doing this. I don't like doing that. I feel horrible." Such malaise, and then you get to the point where you feel better, right? But when it comes to health, you want to feel better all the time, right? It's okay to have the feelings of feeling down every now and then, you know, like gradually, but you don't want to feel horrible. You don't feel terrible, right? So if you're like a really fat person and you're trying to lose weight, gradually go low carb into keto, right? Kind of like what I would suggest to diabetics should do, right? Because you eaten toxins all your life, right? Fast food, all the chemicals in there. Fast food, all their chemicals in there, all the crap they put in there. And part of a human survival mechanism, right, is you store toxins in your fat, right? We have fat soluble toxins, we store toxins in our liver for health reasons, right? Because the liver, the one need to realize is kind of like the seat of your body, right? It's important for your metabolism of your energy, right? Your liver helps with, converting energy, you know, fat into energy, carbs into energy, glycogen, glycolysis, lipolysis, and so on, even gluconeogenesis. So what happens is your liver, if you're eating a horrible, crappy diet, because also it's a detox mechanism, right? Phase 1 and phase 2 liver detox. And if it can't deal with everything all at once, it'll just store it in your fat cells, your adipose tissue. So one day in the future, when you start to lose weight, right, you can take care of that problem. And I know some people with a bad liver have a problem with losing weight because there's so much toxins stored in their fat that the body needs to first detox them first before it loses the weight. Because there's forever chemicals in our body, there's plastics in our body, there's all sorts of horrible things you probably don't even know is in our body that we've had stored from pollution. And I guess we'll, at some point, with more research, figure out what all these chemicals are. We know a few of them, but at the end of the day, we got to do what we can do best. And if we can slowly do this gradual change, you can lose the weight. You can get better. You can get more energy. You will feel better. Also, you'll feel mentally better. But it takes a bit of a change. And then once you feel like you made the changes, you'll gradually get there. It's like 21 days, right? 21 days to build a new habit. And when you stick with it, it becomes a part of you. So try and be consistent for 21 days, right? With that same consistency, you'll get to the point where your habits will become part of you. And it'll just be any other day. Because for some people, habits are hard to make. But I tell people, you do what you can do, right? And sometimes you gotta push yourself. And if you can't push yourself, then find a nutritionist like me who can help push you, right? I like to help people with accountability, remember who they are. If they can't remember who they are, then you gotta remind them. If you have a wife, husband, a kid, or you have a goal in mind, then they help you remember why you're doing this. Because we all want to be healthy, we all want to live longer, and we all want to look better. And all these things combined will make things easier. Because when you have a goal, you will accomplish it. We're humans, we thrive on goals. If humans had no goals, we'd be bored. What would be the purpose of anything if we can't strive to achieve something, right? So, I hope you succeed in your goals and you strive very well enough to hit the point where life becomes what you make it. Not quite sure what else to speak about today. Just that there was a massive, massive fire going on in Hawaii, down in Maui, which is odd, right? Because there's been a lot of fires this year, and they found that some people were starting the fires, right? Arsonist. Canada was a big one for a few months already, and they got the bastard. And then maybe California, they got like 7 arsonists, back earlier in the year. So I'm gonna look at the news and see who they find. Because it's possible it started on a fluke, right? The fire in Maui, but I mean, goddamn, it's a horrible fire. The city was lost. People lost their lives, their businesses, their homes, their life's work. So I guess I'll see what happens there. I'm also gonna go to a UFO thing tomorrow, so that's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be like David Childress is gonna be there, Mike Barra. If you watch Ancient Aliens, you've probably seen these guys. So that's gonna be pretty cool. I'm probably gonna talk about the whistleblower, David Grush. It's interesting. It's been years since we've heard good hearings ever since Project Blue Book. So at some point, I think we'll unravel more. The mystery will unfold. And, it's just me rambling. I always go off. But, yeah, I'm gonna have a fun day tomorrow. I'm gonna try and post on the weekdays. So not the weekends. I like to have my weekends. But if you're inclined and you only have time on the weekends, I'll make a special request for you to have some appointments on Saturday or Sunday. I also stay up late. I'm kind of a night hawk, or a night owl, whatever you call it. So if you're a person who lives, I don't know, in Australia or live in different parts of the world, Europe or whatever, I can still help you as a nutritionist. I just gotta set my time for whenever you're available and I'll help you. But I like to help people in my community, help people in Texas, help people in the United States. I do consultations over Zoom, makes things easier on people. I wanted to meet people in person because I think that's fun, right? Get to have the social connection, get to hug them, shake their hand, make eye contact. But it's just kind of pointless with the cost of living increasing with inflation. Inflation is just horrible today and getting worse. So maybe in the future, when the economy gets better, I'll have an office so I can meet people. That'd be pretty cool. I look forward to that one day in the future. But for right now, I'm gonna meet people over the internet through Zoom. Makes things easier. Life is constantly moving, right? Very fast. I forgot who wrote about this, but there was a guy who wrote about how in the future things are going to happen so fast that the industrialization will just keep us on edge the whole time, 24/7, Going, 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 no rest, no rest, just keep going, going, going. Consume, consume, do this, do that. Now, we never really get the time to take a break, to de-stress, go outside in the sun, look at nature, go for a walk, look at the birds, look at the trees, look at the flowers and the weeds outside. We need to decompress every now and then. If you could do that every day, that'd be awesome. If you don't have time, and you do have that time, then cherish it. Because we need to tone it down a bit. You need to rest. You need to stay grounded. Because if you're always going 100% of the time, you never really get a break. I think I recall a study saying that if you go outside and you look at the greenery, right? The trees, the grass, the plants, all that pretty stuff, that it really helps you reduce stress. So if you're a person who's sedentary all day, work in an office, then hopefully you get a window. Look outside the window. Enjoy the sunlight on the grass, on the trees, on the birds, all that kind of stuff. It's important to take a breath, take a break. After all, we're humans. We're made to be outside. And we're stuck in offices all day. So if you can, take a break, go outside, enjoy nature. No, it's a bit difficult because it's really hot. I mean, I'm from Texas, I know it better. We're always in the hundreds down here. But, wouldn't hurt. Just 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Do what you can. Nothing crazy. But before we end, I want to thank you all for listening. It's been fun. I've enjoyed this. I'm just talking and talking and talking, staring at the wall, rambling. And I hope this provides some sort of value. Again, I hate my voice, so I'm not going to listen to this. I'm probably stuttering and lisping and, I don't know, mispronouncing words and whatnot and such. But again, thank you for listening, and hope you have a great and amazing Friday. Okay, keep it amazing. And try your best. Your best is all you could do, and even more.